Hello, fellow Voyagers. This is Jess with Odyssey Human. Today we're going to talk about how to transcend trauma with lucid living. Welcome to Odyssey Human. This is the channel where we explore the outer reaches of human consciousness and experience and talk about things like emotional mastery, advanced manifesting, extended human capabilities, and more. Welcome. So glad you're here. Disclaimer. I want to preface this video with, I am not a clinician. I am an NLP master practitioner. So this video is not a substitute for medical advice. It's just to offer a different voice in the conversation when we talk about trauma. And I think that's important, to have many different viewpoints when it comes to things that are traumatic. And I speak from my own experience, what I have experienced with my own trauma and what I've found to be true. So please use your discretion when accessing anything in this video. So now that I've said this, all right, trauma, how do we transcend it? So we're awareness. Let's set a precedent for this video. Our core being, our essence is pure awareness, our I am, right? And this is the constant. I talked about this in last week's video. The constant is awareness, your awareness. The I think, therefore I am. It's a little more complex than that, but it's the I am. But we also do other things than think. We feel, we have habits. And so all of that accessory stuff, those little parts and pieces, they're an aspect of you, but they're not you as the whole. You as the whole is the awareness. That is your ultimate authority. That is your ultimate power, is that awareness. And that awareness is constant, right? It's not moved about in the wind. It's the witness. The witness is, that kind of calm, kind of witnessing everything that's happening. So, knowing that, going off of that assumption, let's dive into this conversation. Because right now, lucid dreaming and PTSD are really a really hot topic. And why is that? Because researchers are starting to find that if they teach people lucid dreaming, their PTSD symptoms go away. And why is that? Because instead of being the experience, what I just said, being the thoughts, the feelings, the traumatic, intrusive flashbacks, the night terrors, instead of being that, being so immersed in that, we get that distance, right? When you learn lucid dreaming, you learn in your dream state how to get the gap. I talk about the gap all the time of the movie, whatever's playing on the screen of your awareness, right? In a dream state, it's the dream world is playing. And when you can't lucid dream, you, as the witness, have totally merged with the dream. But in lucid dreaming, you learn certain skills, tactics to wake yourself up so that you can remain in the position of witness and then start to affect what's happening in the dream, right? When you can maintain that little bit of awareness that knows, oh, this is a dream, right? When we're here, we are the dream. When we're here, we can start to manipulate the dream and what we're seeing, what we're experiencing. And that's the essence of PTSD, essentially, is thinking that it is this. Thinking that, the trauma, giving the trauma a lot of power and allowing it to take our power. So when we learn how to lucid dream, we can then start to manipulate the screen. Same thing with life. But I want to read an article. I found this great article that kind of describes what's happening so we can go deeper into this conversation. So I will link it below if you want to read the full article. It says lucid dreaming is more than just self-awareness. People who lucid dream gain memories of what happened earlier in the dream, the ability to manipulate their environment, control their own actions, and marvel at how strange their dream worlds are. Sounds like manifestation, doesn't it? Psychologists compare it to a fully immersive virtual reality inside our own heads, which we have the ability to program and reprogram. You plug into your extended self, says Benjamin Baird, a cognitive neuroscientist at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And the practice seems to have very real therapeutic applications. Lucid dreams may help people conquer debilitating nightly terrors caused by nightmare disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder, and might even help others work through their daytime demons. So they allude to this in the article. They're like, oh yeah, if you can do this in your dreams, then you can start to do this in the daytime. So one more paragraph here, stay with me. When we fall asleep, it may seem like our brains power down for the night, but they actually just shift into a different mode. Certain parts of the brain, those involved in emotion and vision in particular, actually become much more active. That's why dreams are so emotionally and visually vivid, Baird says. Meanwhile, the parts of our brain involved in higher order thought, which includes self-awareness, agency, the ability to plan ahead, go off duty. The lack of activity in these areas of the brain, called the frontal parietal network, might explain why dreams often feel like they're happening to us, almost like a movie, rather than shifting with each action and decision we make, like in real life, Baird says. So here it is. So remember that we are manufacturing every level of reality, right? We manufacture our dream state. Because when we wake up, we're like, oh, that was all inside of me. That was all, that entire world was just contained inside of me. It came from somewhere, I'm not sure. Same thing with our imagination. It's all contained inside of us, right? Our imagination is contained inside of us. Same thing with sensory reality. What we experience in waking life in 3D is all contained inside of us. We are actually manufacturing it. We're simulating it actively every day, every second. And so these different levels of simulation are, what applies to one is also going to apply to the other because they all operate in similar ways. And so, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. It applies in waking life. So when you live lucidly, right? When you lucid dream, you know you're in a dream and you know you can control the dream. When you live lucidly in 3D reality, you know that you're simulating your reality and you know you can control your reality. And you know that even if there's things you don't like that you see in your reality, you don't let them get to you as much. They don't bother you as much because you know that it's this simulation. It's this projection coming out of your subconscious mind, right? It's a manifestation. And you just choose again. You're like, okay, I'll just change it like in a dream. I'll either detach from it, detach from the meaning of it, the significance, the gigantic, all the trauma of it. I'll detach from that, take my power back, detach, and know that I can choose something different. I can shift my focus. I can tell a different story. What do we always have? We have our story and our focus. And then, how frequently we do it to create those habits. So in this, lucid living is what I taught all for the last 3 years through Emotional Fire Academy. So if this sounds kind of advanced to you and you're like, well, how do I do this in 3D? Grab my stop, drop, and roll tool, because what essentially is being taught through lucid dreaming to be able to separate from the experience and be in the witness is mindfulness, right? Is tactical mindfulness, essentially, using mindfulness for a practical application to overcome PTSD. Living lucidly is the same thing. Learning how to, on our waking life, our screen of reality, the things we're seeing, our circumstances that are going on around us, learning how to get the gap. And the stop, drop, and roll tool teaches you how to do that. That was something that I was promoting a lot with Emotional Fire Academy. I don't promote it as much here with Odyssey Human, but I'm going to link it below if you do want to grab that tool. Many people overlook the simplicity of the tool and are like, how is this going to help me? What happens is when you have a maneuver, like learning how to lucid dream, when you have a maneuver that takes you out of the old strategy, right? You use a new strategy when you're faced with essentially nightmares in 3D and sensory reality, a circumstance that's unpleasant, you're having an emotional reaction. When you get a different strategy where you start to get the gap, that's where you have all your power, is in the gap. That's how you transcend trauma, is you stop being trauma, right? You stop being it. And that's what I found. The more I did this, you just keep practicing, practicing. And then one day you're going to realize it's become a habit, right? That's that's our habits then run on autopilot. They're effortless. They're easy. We don't think about them. They settle down to the sediment of our awareness because they've been ingrained, and so they run on their own. And so you stay in that. So then when something scary comes up on the screen of, your life, you're like, okay, I'm not going to give my power to this. It may affect me momentarily. I may forget that I'm visiting Shitsville or Craptown, and find myself there and be a little bit emotionally reactive, but I am not going to fall for the illusion that I live there permanently forever and constantly and set up a house in Shitsville or Crapstown, and live there. And so this is how we transcend trauma, is we practice being the witness. We practice that little gap of separation that allows us to stay in our power. And then we aren't the trauma. We aren't the trauma. And this isn't to say that whatever traumatic experience you've had, I am not diminishing it. It's real in your experience. My trauma was very real, very painful, very uncomfortable. So this isn't to diminish it. It's just to say that trauma is one of the potentials contained within the dream of our 3D reality, right? Whatever we're experiencing in 3D reality, whatever we're experiencing in the dream state, whatever we're experiencing in imagination. So what does trauma look like on these levels? In imagination, it's intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, these memories that just pop up. What does it look like in our waking reality in 3D? Depression, anxiety, fear, sadness. Vadim Zeland calls these pendulums in his book, Transurfing Reality. And we get caught in them, right? We get caught in these potentials. It's just one potential reality of all of the potential realities that we could be, right? Because also happy, excited, joyful, love, those states of being also coexist. I talked about it thinking about it like spatial. Those cities, those places in your reality, in your consciousness, all exist simultaneously. So remember, it's just a place. It's just a space. It doesn't have to be permanent. We don't have to keep it like this. Let's remember, this is just Craptown. I'm going to go over here to happy happy Bernardino, or whatever the place you want to go is, because I think we tend to just assume, because as it's happening, as it's occurring to us, just like in our dream state, that it is us, but it's not. Us on a base level, us, you, me, I am. It's just awareness. That's what we are. And these are all just experiences that are passing through the awareness. And all potentials exist at once. So trauma is one of those potentials. We can go wherever we want. And as we practice mindfulness, we develop the ability to be aware that all potentials exist and then choose, that potential is painful, nasty, gross. I'm going to go over here and feel this potential instead. So it just takes practice. So I hope that was helpful. Like I said, I'll link the article below for PTSD and lucid dreaming, but lucid living also something we can practice on a daily basis. If you want to start practicing lucid living, try the stop, drop, and roll tool. I'll link it below. That is under my old brand, just FYI. And again, this is not a substitute for medical advice. Do your own research, go with what resonates, and know that there are many voices in this conversation. And there's many different ways to transcend trauma. And this is one of them, through mindfulness, practicing mindfulness and then using it to choose something different, to choose to detach from the trauma, to detach from the nightmares, the night terrors, the feeling of powerlessness, and get into your power to start to shift and choose and, go somewhere else in your own consciousness. So I hope this was helpful. I would love to hear your comments. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.